Hey, it's Tuesday, still the middle of July. We are doing a lot of motions this week. Next week, I told you we were going to try that drug case at the beginning of it, followed by a ton of DUI second or subsequents. So those are those cases that kind of sit around because the defense attorney really doesn't want a trial, but he doesn't want a plea either. So you sort of have to push those along with the trial. A lot of them will end up pleading, but they're not going to plea until you pick 12 and put them in the box. So if I'll come back and let you know how that went. And then the week after that, we go back to what you see week in and week out, and that's starting on with murder. Followed by rape and kidnappings, those violent crimes. We just took 1 week off in the summer to do the DUIs and some drug cases. So I'll alert you on that. That'll be next week, and then the next week we'll be back to murder trials. So this week we've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of questions about guilty pleas. And fortunately or unfortunately, we have seen this over and over and over, tried many different ways where the prosecution would just remain moot, not say anything, and you just plead straight up if you wanted to plea. We lose a lot of control that way. So let me describe that process for you. The prosecutor is given the case, which the police go out and bring in as much information as they can from some night in February or March. And we take that, look at the charges, look at the prior record, see what fits. Then we send the charge up to the grand jury, and that's really what we're going to trial on or what we're going to plea on. The first big important paper is the arrest warrant. But by the time we are up in front of a court, the indictment has superseded that arrest warrant. So if the police were to have charged DUI second, but we look at the NCIC and see that it's really a DUI third, then we send it to the grand jury as a different charge. The police may sometimes charge burglary second. And we said, well, doggone, this took place at night. This is really a burglary first. That new paper is what the person is put on notice that he is going to be tried or pleading to. At that point, which is supposed to happen within 90 days of the arrest, going in front of a grand jury. And most of the time that happens, we had a time with our drug cases where we didn't have our drug reports back, certainly within the 90 days. But what I've told our guys is we have got to base it on probable cause. We've got to send those up there within 90 days, and we've got to get control over that. So that's going along. By the time it comes to court, there's several different ways for it to plea. And what generally happens is we have a series of appearances where the defendant is maybe goes in front of a magistrate, gets a bond, and then is told several dates to come back. During those dates, the first date, all we're really looking at is to see if they've got mental health issues and if they've got an attorney. That's really the qualifiers for the first appearance. If they've already got an attorney and there's no competency issues, sometimes we excuse first appearance and go straight to second appearance. By second appearance, we've given the defense attorney all of the discovery, or as much as we've got. So they're on the same page that we are about this burglary first. They see what we're accusing them of and see all of the documentation that's behind it. There's no hiding the ball. That doesn't do us any good. It doesn't do anybody any good. And with that second appearance, we have a plea offer, which we'll just go back to the burglary first example. Burglary first means that you entered into someone's house without permission at night or with a gun, or you injured somebody in the process. That's the highest level of burglary. That starts at 15 years and it goes up to life imprisonment. In that case, we may review and see that the person has no record. Or we may see that this is a crackhead that broke into a rental unit. It's still burglary first, but we may say, well, this person is doing this because they're a crackhead or they're taking drugs. So we may make a recommendation of 15 years suspended upon drug court, where you have to go and test for drugs in your system 3 times a week. You have to have a job. It's about a 2-year program. That might be a suitable resolution. We always talk with the victim ahead of time. It may be where we say, that ain't going to do you. If you want to plea, we will lower it from burglary first to burglary second, violent, so that you'll have a strike. But now we can't do any better than 15 years on a first. We could do 8 or 9 or 10 years on a second. So we may do that. Whatever that plea offer is, it's, there's no way to do it perfectly. I don't know every defendant. All I know is the charges that are coming up and the record. And I try to make a guess from that. And I try to weigh how good the charge is. There are some times that the police officer says that he broke in, that the alarm went off at 6:53. Now in the summer that means it's still daylight. In the winter it means that it's dark. So, whatever, we try to fit it within the elements, and then we make the best reasonable offer up front. If you refuse that offer and you go on the trial roster, then our standard is we don't make any plea offers at that point. Or if there is a plea offer, that it goes up. Those plea offers would be a recommendation, which simply means that I'm going to go in and say, Judge, the state recommends 7 years. The victim may recommend 9 years or may recommend probation. But all it is a recommendation. And the defense, of course, is going to ask for something less. That's a recommendation. Another type of plea offer may be a negotiated plea offer, which says, Judge, we had him on a burglary first. We've lowered it, given him the benefit of it, but we are negotiating with the defense attorney for 10 years. Judge, you can take that or you can leave it. And if we do a plea offer like that, then the judge says, my hands are tied. I can either accept it or deny it. And if they take it, you're getting 10 years. If they reject it, then he throws that away, that contract away. One other way is we say there is no offer. We are going to let you plead to a burglary first, which I cannot stop them from pleading as charged. If they plead to that, then they're looking at 15 to life. I could say, I'm going to allow you to plead to a burglary second violent. That is 0 to 15, I believe. And if the judge wants to give you 9, he gives you 9. If he wants to give you 12, he gives you 12. If he wants to, whatever it is, that is no offer. And that's how sometimes when you say, don't make any sort of offer, a lot of times judges will go way, way under. The judge has only looked at this for at most 10 minutes. The state has looked at it for a year or 6 months. The defense has looked at it for a year or 6 months. So the defendant certainly don't want to go to jail, but the defense attorney knows somewhere around what the value of the case is. The state knows what the value of the case is. If there is a chance to make some sort of recommendation, it's more fair to do that and let the judge know what we believe it's worth than just to sit up there and say no recommendation, because he's only looked at it for the amount of time that the defendant has come up and started talking. He doesn't get to go through the files. He doesn't have the file in front of him. All he knows is the charge that came from that indictment that we're talking about, and I would let him know about the prior record. So that's why we make plea offers. Another reason that we make them is that there are 10,000 cases that will come through felony warrants from Briarcliff, Aner, Conway, Myrtle Beach, Horry County Sheriff's Office, State Highway Patrol, SLED. There's 17 different agencies in Horry County, 3 or 4 in Georgetown, like Andrews, Georgetown Sheriff, Georgetown City, all of those state agencies. And then we also have federal court that goes on. So there's a lot of different agencies that come through, and you only have 26 weeks to try a case, and it usually takes about a week to try one. Unless we do like we're doing now with DUIs and drug cases, and then you can do basically one a day or one every other day. You can make those a lot quicker. There are fewer witnesses. So that's, we get it all the time in the comments. I'm not saying that it's a perfect system. I'm just telling you, to manage 10,000 felony warrants in Horry, about 2,000 in Georgetown, you've got to make some sort of an offer up front that speaks, and the feds do the same thing, right? The feds, without the prosecutor doing anything, if you plead early on and accept responsibility, the judge is going to give you a much less sentence. If you say pound sand, let's go to trial, you're going to get more time. You're going to refuse that initial offer just by not acting. So it's not new. It's something that goes on all across the state. I think we do a really good job. Our backlog is very, very low, and we are getting the people that are going to cause the most havoc in our area. And you will see, I've showed you, it's hard to believe, but with a growing population, to see the crime rate dropping is unheard of. So there's a lot of good stuff going on. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good system.